Did not include footage, which was also sad because I've been going through a lot of Andre videos on YouTube, right, with all this talk about the documentary. You kind of go down that wormhole and you get lost. And, the other night I ended up watching like 45 minutes worth of Andre the Giant related clips on YouTube. And one of the clips I watched was his last match ever, I believe it was. I want to say it was in Japan. This was in late 92. This may have only been about a month or so before he passed away. And it was like a 6-man tag, which is all he could do at that point. You can put him out on the apron. He would come in maybe and do a couple of spots, and then he would just stand out there. He looked awful. I mean, he had to, when he came down to the ring, I don't know if Inoki was on his team, but whoever it was, as he was walking to the ring, he had to walk behind the Japanese star so he could put his hands on his shoulders so he had something to sort of steady himself as he walked to the ring. I mean, that's how bad things were at the end. They didn't include footage of that. They didn't have footage of his last match in the documentary. I'm not sure why, but the scene with Tim White where he just breaks down and says, man, I wish I could have been there. Because Andre's father passed away. He got called back to France for the funeral. This was in January of 93. And he went, I guess, alone. I don't know why he didn't take Tim White or somebody with him, but he went by himself and attended his father's funeral. And I think a few days later is when he passed away. They found him dead in a hotel room in Paris. And Tim White was very upset. He said, I should have been there. Nothing I can do now. There's no crying in wrestling, but he was holding back, he was fighting back the tears. And it was just a very, just a very emotional scene. And how many times have we heard the stories of wrestlers who, die alone in a hotel room somewhere? Usually it's from a drug overdose or something. That was not the case here, but it was still equally sad. Vince and Shane were interviewed. Vince McMahon gave us some insight into himself at one point. It's very rare that we get insight into the man, Vince McMahon. It's hard to tell sometimes when Vince is being Vince, the human being, and when Vince is just being Mr. McMahon. I kind of think that at some point the two blended together. I don't know that... I don't want to say that the real Vince no longer exists, but it's sort of hard to tell. But he gave us a little bit of insight into himself here. He talked about the falling out he had with Andre. Him and Andre had a falling out towards the end. And I'm sure he regrets that. And he did get emotional, and he started crying, but he was doing everything in his power to fight back the tears and not show real human emotion. But he said, I have the capacity to completely shut out any negative influences around me. So if somebody hurts me, I just get rid of them. And I just thought to myself, that may be one of the realest things I've ever heard that man say. So I thought that was very interesting.